Felix Hernandez took a huge jump in the Hall of Fame voting. I've got a new player profile for you guys. We've avoided arbitration with Bryce Miller, which is huge, and the Mets made a big trade. I'm going to get into all of that this episode. Hi, everyone. My name is Sam Edwards. Welcome to Mariners Daily, the show for the Mariners nerd fan, the fan that likes to go just a little bit deeper and is okay to get into the weeds of the stats. I appreciate you watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe if you enjoy daily Mariners content. Let's get into it. Felix Hernandez, just yesterday, the Hall of Fame voting came in. First off, Andrew Jones and Carlos Beltran make it in, and rightfully so. Both great players and Hall of Fame worthy for sure. Felix was a guy that's been kind of on the fringe, especially, yeah, just like in the public eye. I would say that he's always been kind of on the fringe as we've been getting closer and closer to this voting of whether he was going to get the percentage jump that we were hoping for just in his second year on the ballot. And I was really curious to see if this was going to be a good enough jump to almost guarantee that he will eventually be in the Hall of Fame. And this definitely was a huge jump. He jumped to 46.1%, which is huge. That means he was on 46.1% of the ballots this year. That is a 25.5 increase from last year, which is huge. He is now 28.9% away from being inducted into the Hall of Fame. For the second year, being on the ballot for his second year, that is huge. And honestly, I think it's a huge sign for how voters are maybe changing the way they're voting for the Hall of Fame, and especially for pitchers specifically. The thing with the Hall of Fame has always been like, are you looking at the career long achievements? Because if you're looking at that, then Felix doesn't necessarily jump off the page, really. He doesn't have the big numbers of innings pitched, strikeouts, whatever it is, or run prevention. A career 3.42 ERA probably shouldn't get you into the Hall of Fame of its own accord. But the peak of a player, I think, does matter a lot when considering Hall of Fame candidacy. And Felix has that, man. He's got that peak. And I think he deserves to get in. And I definitely think with this huge jump, 25.5% is nothing to scoff at here. That is huge. And I'm excited. I'm excited for when he finally gets inducted, finally gets what he's worth and his due. So shout out Felix Hernandez. What a stud. And yeah, Mariners legend, as always. All right. Player profile. We're talking about Michael Kopech today. That's right. Michael Kopech is a free agent. I keep forgetting he's a free agent. And I don't know if you have too, but my gosh, this dude's got electric stuff, and I wanted to deep dive into him, do a little player profile, figure out why he's still a free agent, and how much, how much would he cost, and could he be a perfect fit for the Mariners? Let's get into it. This past season, he was injured for most of the year, only pitched 11 innings. The walk percentage was a crazy 24.5%, which is insane. And then he got lucky in other ways, a 214 BABIP and an 84.2 left on base percentage. Both very lucky stats. 2.45 ERA and a 4.50 FIP, only 11 innings. It's such a small sample size. Grain of salt, grain of salt. So only 11 innings pitched this past season, kind of a wash of a year with the Dodgers. Due to he started the season with a shoulder impingement. Thank you. Thank you for helping out. A shoulder impingement. And then later he underwent surgery for a torn meniscus in his right knee. That was in July, which put him on the 60-day IL. Then he returned briefly in September, but then was quickly placed back on the injured list with recurring knee inflammation, ending his season and him not appearing in the postseason. So, why do we want him? He's been really good in the past, and I think buying low on a guy like Kopech could be awesome for the Mariners. 1 year, easy deal, especially if he's healthy right now, which I have heard no reports saying that he's not healthy right now. He could be amazing. 2024 saw him starting the season and pitching most of the season with the Chicago White Sox. 43.2 innings pitched for them, a 30.9 K percentage, but a fairly high 12.6 walk percentage. It was a 4.74 ERA and a 4.84 FIP. So where is the good stuff, Sam? What are we doing here? Why do we want Michael Kopech? Well, as you may have forgotten, I guess, he gets traded to the Dodgers and then goes on an absolute tear. 24 innings pitched, a 33 K percentage, still high 11.4 walk percentage, but a 113 ERA and a 2.54 FIP. That's crazy. Uh, it was still fairly lucky. Uh, Only 24 innings pitched, so grain of salt, but a 167 BABIP, and a 90.9 left on base percentage. Both very lucky stats. So, why do I want this guy? He has got the bones of a great reliever. He's got the high octane, high whiff percentage four seam fastball. Through it 2024, which is what we're talking about here, threw it 78.4% of the time. 78% of the time throwing your four seam is better be a good pitch. And my gosh, is it a good pitch? He throws it high 90s, 98.7 was what he was averaging. A 285 WOBA and a 291 expected WOBA. Those are great stats right there. And a 34 whiff percentage is also fairly high for a four seam fastball. It's the number one pitch for a reason. He can get it done in any situation. Absolute huge pitch. Throws his slider and cutter pretty equally, both right around 10% of the time. In 2024, the slider was not as effective as the cutter. The cutter has kind of been his number two pitch, which is kind of interesting. When he did get traded to the Dodgers, we did see a little bit of a usage switch where they saw him throwing the slider more, and it was very effective. So I don't know what's going to happen. I would love to see what he looks like on the Mariners. I think they could really use that high octane arm, and that could be so awesome. Because the upside is him being your setup man. You know, he could take over. He could take over this bullpen for sure. And yeah, maybe he's looking for another opportunity where he could easily step into the closer role. That's possible. But you are buying low due to the injuries. He was not an amazing performer this past season. And even in 2024, like I said, the 24 innings with the Dodgers was fairly lucky. And before that, he was not extremely good with the White Sox. He's always had the tools, though. He's always had the tools, and you know the Mariners can handle those tools and make him the best pitcher he can be. So I think Kopech would be really cool on the Mariners. Fastball and cutter are awesome, and then I wanna see what we can get out of that slider. The slider was less effective in 2024 than I thought it was. I think the slider was better. A 297 WOBA, which is not bad. 297 WOBA, 330 expected WOBA, which is a little bit higher, obviously not amazing. And then the whiff percentage is not amazing either, only a 23.1 whiff percentage. So whatever. The cutter was much more effective, 10.5% usage in 2024, a 182 WOBA against and a 260 expected WOBA, a 33.3 whiff percentage. That's great. Four seam and cutter are great pitches to build off of, and to slip in the slider when when you're expecting the cutter, when you're sitting on the cutter, and then you throw the slider off of it just a little bit slower. That's huge for a guy like Kopech, and then he's got the high 90s fastball that just dominates, gets whiffs, does everything you want it to do. So I would be so curious if the Mariners could sign Kopech and see what we can get out of this season, especially if he's healthy. I would be expecting a really good arm. And at worst case scenario, we don't need him to be a top three, even top four arm in our pen. We can have him survive in the sixth inning, and I think he can get it done. And I think he can do better than Carlos Vargas. And I know I rank on Vargas quite a bit. He's not a terrible pitcher by any means, but he just definitely wasn't that great this past season, and I'm not, like, a big believer in him going forward. So, not saying it's not possible, but I would much rather Michael Kopech in that role, and, that'd be really cool if he takes, even if it's a 2-year deal or a 1-year deal with a club option or player option or whatever you wanna do, I'm down. Kopech's got the skills, and I wanna see him on the Mariners. I think that'd be really cool. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are. If I could, if I convinced a little bit, or maybe if I, you know, cast some doubt on your love for Kopech, possibly. Um, talking about the injuries, talking about the inconsistencies, and yeah, I don't know. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Is there another reliever that you think could be a really good option? Then maybe one I should deep dive. Let me know. Let me know. All right. Next up, the Mariners and Bryce Miller have avoided arbitration. They've avoided going to court and bashing, having the Mariners bash Miller's performance, which we all know was not the Miller that we expect to see. So they avoid arbitration, they meet in the middle. Miller had filed for $2.625 million for this coming season, and the Mariners had filed for 2.25 million. They meet in the middle at 2.4375 million dollars with a club option for $6 million for next year. Now the Mariners could always decline that club option and just go to arbitration again. That's always possible. But $6 million does give Miller some good breathing room for sure. And it gives the Mariners an option in case he does rebound. This is kind of, or when he does, I should say, because I do believe he's going to rebound. I think he's going to be absolutely fine. Now, club option can totally be voided if Miller finishes in the top 5 of Cy Young voting, because it would get voided because then he would clearly make a lot more in arbitration than $6 million. So I like this deal a lot. I'm so happy that we don't have to hear about how the Mariners have bashed one of their players to their faces, only to save, freaking $400,000. Come on, bro. Just pay up. So meeting in the middle is great. I'm super happy about that. And the club option is nice as well. Gives us a little bit of security. And and if not, if he does get top 5 in Cy Young voting, which is possible, it is possible. Nothing is impossible. So I'm curious to see what happens. I can't wait to see Miller this year. I'm almost scared. So excited. I'm hyping him up too much, and maybe I'm expecting him to rebound too much. But yeah, I would be scared if he just comes out and performs the same way that he did in 2025. I'd be worried. I'd be worried. So maybe we should calm ourselves down. We're gonna be okay. He avoided arbitration, which is great. We meet in the middle. Awesome. And I can't wait to see him perform this year. So we'll see what happens. Finally, the Mets have made a big trade, finally getting an outfielder. Maybe this takes them out of the Cody Bellinger conversation. I'm not sure. They trade for Luis Robert Jr. or Luis Robert. I don't know if it's Robert or Robert. I think it's Robert. Luis Robert. I think it's Robert Jr. Either way, they trade him. They get Robert, and they trade over Luis Angel Acuna's younger brother, infielder, slash outfielder as well. He's also played outfield. They trade him and a 12th round pick from this past draft, minor league right-hander Truman Pauly. Not super highly ranked. Obviously, drafted in the 12th round. He's not super highly ranked. Robert is kind of an interesting player. He's got 2 years of control. $20 million he's making this season, and they've got a club option for 2027 for another $20 million. He has not been the stud player that you expect Luis Robert to be, and that we've seen flashes of. The past 2 seasons, we have seen him not perform extremely well. This past year was 431 plate appearances, 14 home runs, 33 stolen bases. He still has the speed, and he's still got the defense. However, 9.3 walk percentage, which is not bad, but it's not amazing. A 26 K percentage, not great. 141 isolated power, not the power that you want. You need that to be bumped up at least to like a 180 to make me excited. A 274 BABIP. He hit 223 with a 297 on base and a 364 slugging percentage. Did he get a little unlucky? Possibly. The WOBA was a 289, but 322 expected WOBA. So maybe a little unlucky. The batted ball metrics are nice. I think he can be better than what he showed this past season. An 84 runs created plus means he's 16% lower than the average major league hitter 2025. 1.3 F4, I think, speaks to the speed and the defense. Is he worth $20 million right now? the ceiling is super high. He's got the speed and the power, but and the defense. But I don't know, man. I don't know. Doesn't really get me extremely excited, even though it feels like he should get me excited. I don't know, man. I don't know. Luis Angel Acuna is no star himself. Kind of a very similar player to Robert, except he can play some good infield defense. He just has not shown anything with the bat so far. This past season in the majors, 193 plate appearances for Luis Angel Acuna, 16 stolen bases, 0 homers, 6.7 walk percentage, 19.2 K percentage. He hit 234 with a 293 on base and a 274 slugging percentage. The WOBA and ex-WOBA do not preach confidence right now, and a 65 runs created plus. Now, we've seen guys come up to the majors and struggle. I get it, but the past full season he had in AAA, which was 2024, didn't give me a whole lot of confidence. It wasn't like he crushed hitting wise. So I don't have much faith in Acuna as of right now. Obviously, he's related to Acuna on the Braves. So, it there's always gonna be that comparison. There's always gonna be that name. You hear Acuna and you go, oh, but he has not proven anything as of right now, whether in my minors or in the majors. So jury's still out for me. We'll see what happens. The White Sox do have a lot of third base options, which you know what that does. It gets my brain going. It gets me thinking. Maybe there's a possibility. Maybe there's another player that we could go for, and maybe I will cover one of those players or multiple over the next couple of episodes. So make sure you subscribe going forward. I good for the Mets. They get a solid defensive replacement at the very least. He'll probably be starting in center field slash left field, which is better than Tyrone Taylor, who they had as a starter before Robert. I think they still need a guy like Cody Bellinger personally, especially for how the Mets are and spending a lot of money. Yeah, I think they need another outfielder still. So I don't think it takes them out of that conversation. But maybe it does. Maybe they think they're set. So I don't know, man. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. And yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on today's episode. If you guys have any critiques or anything, you guys got anything that I could be doing better? Obviously the yawns suck ass, but if there's anything else that I can improve on or whatever it is, please let me know in the comments. I greatly appreciate you guys watching. So see you back tomorrow. Have a good one.